I'm 85 years old, and there's a truth that didn't reach me until everything around me went quiet. I spent most of my life believing I was doing the right thing. I worked hard. I showed up when it mattered, at least in the ways I understood back then. I thought providing was the same as loving. I thought responsibility was enough. It wasn't. I'm sitting alone as I say this. The house is still. Too still. You don't notice the silence when you're young because your life is loud. Work, plans, noise, people. At my age, silence has weight. It presses against you. It gives you time to remember things you kept pushing aside. I don't need sympathy. I'm not telling this to be forgiven. I'm telling it because I don't have many chances left to tell the truth plainly. When I was younger, I believed time was something you spent later. I thought there would always be another weekend, another holiday, another chance to slow down. Life didn't correct me. It let me keep believing that life had decades. I grew up watching my own father work until he was tired and quiet. That was my example. He didn't talk much. He provided. He came home, ate dinner, went to sleep, questioned it. That was what men did. So I followed the same path without thinking too hard about it. In my 20s, I got married. In my 30s, I had children. And from the moment they arrived, my focus narrowed. I wanted them to be safe, fed, housed, educated. I wanted them to have more than I did. So I worked long days. I took overtime. I said yes when my body said no. I came home tired and told myself that exhaustion was proof of love. When I missed dinner, I told myself they'd understand. When I missed school events, I said I'd make the next one. There was always a next one. Until there wasn't. I remember coming home late and finding my kids already asleep. I'd stand in the doorway for a moment, watching them breathe, and feel like that counted as being present. It didn't occur to me that presence required participation, not observation. They would ask me to play. Sometimes I did. More often I said not now, not today, maybe tomorrow. I thought those words were harmless. I didn't see them collecting interest. My wife noticed before I did. She tried to pull me back into the room, back into conversations, back into moments that didn't involve a paycheck. I thought she was worrying too much. I thought she didn't understand the pressure. I didn't understand what I was trading away. The years passed quietly. Children grow without asking permission. One day they stop asking you for help and start handling things on their own. I remember feeling relieved when that happened. Relieved. That should have told me something. I attended birthdays, but not fully. I was there, but distracted, thinking about work, thinking about what needed to be done next. I told myself I was being responsible. But responsibility without attention is just distance with good intentions. Nothing broke all at once. That's the part people don't warn you about. There was no big argument, no dramatic fallout, just fewer conversations, shorter answers, less eye contact, a slow shift where I went from being someone they ran to someone they updated. I noticed it, but I didn't stop it. I didn't know how. When they grew older, they needed different things. Conversation, listening, understanding. I didn't have practice with that. I had built my identity around doing, not being. Around fixing problems, not sitting inside them. So when they struggled, I gave advice instead of attention. Solutions instead of comfort. Silence when I didn't know what to say. I thought that was better than saying the wrong thing. What I didn't realize was that silence is its own kind of answer. The turning point didn't come when they moved out, or when the calls became less frequent. It came much later when my wife got sick. Illness has a way of stripping away excuses. When you're standing in a hospital room, none of the things you worked so hard for seem very impressive. What matters is who's standing beside you. My children showed up for her. They were gentle, patient, present. I watched them become the kind of people I always hoped they'd be, and I felt proud and ashamed. One night my wife told me something quietly. She said they loved me, but they didn't really know me. She wasn't angry, she wasn't blaming. She was stating a fact. I didn't argue. I couldn't. After she died, the house changed. It didn't echo the same way. The routines fell apart, the phone rang less, people moved on with their lives as they should. I told my children I was fine, over and over. I didn't want to be a burden. What I didn't see was that I was still choosing distance, still insisting on strength when what I needed was connection. Eventually, the calls became occasional, then rare. Not out of cruelty, out of habit, out of learned distance. One day I fell at home. I lay there longer than I care to admit, not because I couldn't move, but because I didn't know who to call. That realization hurt more than the fall. That was the moment the truth finally settled in. I had provided for my family. I had kept them safe. I had done what I thought was required. But I had not been present in the ways that build closeness. I had not invested in the quiet moments that last longer than money ever does. And now, there was no way to go back. You can't return to a childhood once it's past. You can't rebuild trust the same way when years have taught people not to reach for you. Apologies help, but they don't erase patterns. I still love my children. I always have. That love just wasn't delivered in the way it needed to be. Love doesn't matter if it never arrives where it's needed. If you're listening to this and you still have people who want your attention, understand that wanting fades if it's unanswered for too long. People don't stop caring suddenly. They stop expecting. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I learned too late. Presence is not something you squeeze in after everything else is done. It is the thing. The rest of my life will be shorter than the part already lived. I can feel that. I spend my days slower now. I notice things I rushed past before. And I live with the understanding that some losses don't announce themselves until they're permanent. If this meant something to you, sit with it. You don't need to act dramatically. Just notice who's waiting for you now. I'm 85, and I finally understand that providing kept the lights on. Presence is what keeps people close.